Since its adoption in 2013, the Charter has remained a guiding framework for the member states to progress toward a common vision, to improve the lives of the people of the Commonwealth by advancing free and democratic societies grounded in peace and harmony. Let us also recognize that the values of the Commonwealth Charter are not abstract ideals. They must be lived, practiced, and protected every single moment. When these values are undermined, the consequences for a nation can be profound. Over the past 16 years, Bangladesh experienced an authoritarian regime marked by the systematic erosion of democracy and civil liberties. Freedom of expression was brutally suppressed, the right to vote was consistently denied, press freedom was severely curtailed, and large scale corruption and money laundering drained the country's wealth and institutions. Citizens suffered from arbitrary arrests, enforced disappearance, and extrajudicial killings, crimes that devastated countless families. But perhaps the greatest victims of that regime were our youth. Their hopes were shattered. Entire generations grew up without ever experiencing a free and fair election. Even many of them turned 30 without ever casting a single vote. Their voices were silenced and their future stolen. And yet, it was the youth who stood up and led the July uprising. They sacrificed their lives for a new dawn of freedom and justice. Because of their courage and dedication, we are now free from the grip of a tyranny. Dear friends, when our interim government assumed office, we deeply felt the realization, just as millions across the country did, that the July uprising was not solely about changing a regime. It was above all an expression of the people's deep aspiration to reform the country for a lasting democracy. To fulfill this aspiration, the interim government has launched a series of reform initiatives. To date, 11 reform commissions have been formed, and each has submitted their reports based on extensive and diverse consultations with citizens, experts, political parties, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. Already, 121 proposals have been identified as ready for immediate implementation, while the National Consensus Commission is working actively to build agreement on the scope and timeline of other necessary reforms. At the same time, the Commission is also working diligently to finalize the July Charter, upholding people's aspirations, which will guide Bangladesh toward a democratic and prosperous future. This initiative reflects our shared commitment to the spirit of July uprising. We seek to build a country where democracy is never again compromised and where the rights, freedoms, and dignity of all people are protected. However, we recognize that the legitimacy and sustainability of this process depend on inclusive dialogue, shared ownership, and the genuine participation of all who aspire to build a democratic, resilient, and prosperous Bangladesh. In this spirit, our government remains committed to working with all stakeholders, including the youths. Ladies and gentlemen, in our journey to restore democracy, to build a prosperous and peaceful Bangladesh, the role of youth has become more vital than ever. From this perspective, today's workshop is not only timely but also essential. By learning about the values of the Commonwealth Charter, such as democracy, human rights, good governance, and rule of law, our youth will be better equipped to contribute meaningfully to the ongoing nation building process. I encourage all of you to engage actively in discussions, challenge ideas, and propose practical recommendations that can shape our way forward. Dear friends, as we move forward on this path of transformation, I take this opportunity to call upon our fellow member states through the Commonwealth Secretariat to support Bangladesh in this critical journey. Together, let us stand for a future rooted in freedom, justice, and opportunity for all. In conclusion, I would like to remind you that the Commonwealth Charter is not just a document, it is a living promise, a promise we make to ourselves, to each other, and to every young mind who dreams of a just, peaceful, and prosperous world. With these words, I now have the honor to declare this workshop officially open. Thank, thank you all. Allah Hafiz.